Hallelujah. Baruch haba Hashem. Hallelujah. Baruch haba Hashem. Hallelujah. Baruch haba Hashem. Yahuah. Hallelujah. Baruch haba Hashem. Yahuah. Hallelujah. Baruch haba Hashem. Yahuah. Hallelujah. Baruch haba Hashem. Hallelujah. Baruch haba Hashem. Yahuah. Hallelujah. Baruch haba Hashem. Yahuah. Hallelujah. Baruch haba Hashem. Hallelujah. Baruch haba Hashem. Yahuah. Hallelujah. Baruch haba Hashem. Yahuah. Hallelujah. Baruch haba Hashem. Yahuah. Baruch haba Hashem. Yahuah. Hallelujah.
To worship you, oh my Redeemer. Take joy, my Father, in what you hear. Let it be sweet, sweet sound in your ear. I love you, Yah, and I lift my voice to worship you, oh my Redeemer. Take joy, my Father, in what you hear. Let it be sweet, sweet sound in your ear.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Who is mighty like you?
There is no one.
There is no other. You're the only other.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Who is mighty like you?
Yeah.
There is no other. You're the only Elohim. Bless Yah, oh my King, all that is within me. I'll praise Him all day long. Yah is my strength and song. Laws are set to make me wise. Enemies will you despise? All you say, I will do. Just a shot. Never love you. I really love you. I really love you. I do. I really love you. I do. I do. I do. I do. I do. I do. I really love you.
I really love you.
I do. I do. I do. I do. I do. I really love you.
I love you, Yah.
Hallelujah. Who is mighty like Bless Yah, oh my dear, all that is within me. I'll praise Him all day long. Yah is my strength and song. All He said to make me wise. Enemies will use this wise. All He said I will do, just to show that I love you. I really love you. I really love you. I do. I really love you. I do. I do. I do. I do. I do. I do. I really love you. I do. I do. I do. I do. I do. I do. I really love you. I love you, Yah, and I lift my voice to worship you. Oh, my being is yours. Take joy, my Father, in what you hear. And let it be sweet, sweet sound in your ear. I love you, Yah, and I lift my voice to worship you. Oh, my being is yours. Take joy, my Father, in what you hear. And let it be sweet, sweet sound in your ear.
Keep your hand on that plow. Hold on. Heard the word of Yahuah say, come to me, for I am the way. Keep your hand on that plow. Hold on. In my weak and darkest night, the word of Yah will be my light. Keep your hand on that plow. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your hand on that plow. Hold on. Wanna get the Mashaly, I'll tell you how. Keep your hand on the gospel plow. Keep your hand on that plow. Hold on. If that plow stays in your hand, will land you straight in the promised land. Keep your hand on that plow. Hold on. Hold on, hold on, keep your hand on that plow, hold on. Talk about me as much as you please, talk about you on my knees. Keep your hand on that plow, hold on. When I get the Mashaly, we'll sing and shout, but nobody there who'll put me out. Keep your hand on that plow, hold on. Hold on, hold, keep on holding on, keep your hand on that plow, hold on. Hold on, hold, keep on holding on, keep your hand on that plow, keep your hand on that plow, keep your hand on that plow. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep holding on, hold on. You got to hold on, hold on. Just got off, feeling good, head home. Going to Torah, just the way I knew I should. Got no time, caution. All my time, get ready, y'all. No time for work. No time, strap. All my time to rest. All my time to be blessed. You know what time it is. It's the Shabbat. Get ready. It's the Shabbat. It's a delight to Yahuah. It's the Shabbat. You know what time it is. It's the Shabbat. Boss calling, talking about some overtime. I can't come because this is time. It's not about the money or the problems, yeah. It's about making it whole proud. Got no time for work. Got no time for stress. All my time is to rest. All my time is to be blessed. It's you know what time it is. It's the Shabbat. Get ready. It's the Shabbat. And you know it's a delight to Yahuah. It's the Shabbat. You know what time it is. It's the Shabbat. It's Shabbat. Yeah. It's Shabbat. It is Shabbat. Yeah. It's Shabbat. It's Shabbat. It's Shabbat. Yeah. It's Shabbat. Yahuah time. It's Shabbat. Yeah. It's Shabbat. Let it be the love. Shabbat. To Yahuah. Shabbat. It's Shabbat. It's Shabbat. Yeah. It's Shabbat. It's Shabbat. It's Shabbat. Yeah. It's Shabbat. Because he the rest. Shabbat. Yeah. It's Shabbat. You know what time it is. It's the Shabbat. Get ready. It's the Shabbat. It's a delight to Yahuah. It's the Shabbat. You know what time it is. It's the Shabbat. Hello, Yahuah. I want to say Shabbat Shalom to you all, family. It is indeed the Shabbat. It is wonderful to be here today. Great to see each and every one of you. I'm still trying to get onto YouTube where I can see the family there. Nonetheless, I want to greet you in the great name of Yahuah, the awesome name of Yahuah, the never changing and the ever committed name of Yahuah. Yahuah, who is always committed to his people. And so I want to say Barakatah Mashbaka. It is wonderful to be here today. And so we give Yahuah praise, honor, and esteem. I'm going to go ahead and play another song as we prepare to begin. And so once again, shalom to you, Mashbaka. Here we go. Sounds of Sinai Dawarya. From everlasting to everlasting, thou art God. From everlasting to everlasting, thou art God. Thou art God. From everlasting to everlasting, thou art God. From everlasting to everlasting, thou art God. From the beginning, wherever the earth was, you were there. You were there. You had creation in the palm of your hand. The sun, the stars, heaven above, and earth below. The tides of the sea and the direction the winds blow. A humble servant you have made in me. A humble servant you have made. And my only desire is to follow thee from everlasting to everlasting. From everlasting to everlasting, thou art God. From everlasting to everlasting, thou art God. From everlasting to everlasting, thou art God. From everlasting to everlasting, thou art
Allahu Yahuah. Once again, I want to say Shabbat Shalom to you all, family. Great indeed to be here today. And as we prepare to begin, family, I'd like for us to go to the book of Tahalim. But before we do that, I just want to put on the introduction here, our promo, so to speak. It's a welcome and a reminder of what we here in the assembly seek. We seek the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And so I want to say Shabbat Shalom to you all, family. And please enjoy the welcome to this fellowship today. Shabbat Shalom to you all. Hallelujah. Indeed, from everlasting to everlasting is Yahuah. And so I want to say Shabbat Shalom once again to you all, family. Give me just a second.
You had to pay for the darn car.
From everlasting to everlasting, indeed, he is Yahuah. And so I want to say Shabbat Shalom to you all once again, family. It is indeed great to be here. We're going to open up our fellowship today by reading from the book of Tehillim. I'm also excited about the study that we're getting into beginning here on this Shabbat. We're getting ready to go through the book of Mashaly, the book of Proverbs, and as we do that, we're going to be going through the book of they say Sirach, but which really should be Sayara. Sayara, I'm sorry. We're going to look at that a little bit later on as we're prepared to get into the book with a proper name, basically. Or the book is also known as the book, the Saphar of Yahusha, Ban of Sayara. We'll look at that as we get into the study. But I've titled this series a study in wisdom, a study in wisdom. And so I'm excited about us getting into that. Wisdom is a reflection of Torah. Wisdom is Torah. And so it is Yahuah's Torah that gives wisdom. And as we study from these writings, it calls our attention to Torah. It calls our attention to a right understanding of Torah. And so indeed, I'm excited about this, family. We're going to go to the book of Tehillim as we prepare to begin here, as we prepare to begin today. And so go with me, if you would, to praise Yahuah. Okay, Akut, sorry to hear that you're having trouble with your computer. Yeah. That you're having trouble with your computer there, Akud al Yashaba. But we're going to prepare to begin here by going to the book of Tehillim today. Tehillim, chapter 89 is where we'll begin. Tehillim, chapter 89. I sing of the kindnesses of Yahuah forever. With my mouth I make known your trustworthiness to all generations. For I said, kindness is built up forever. You establish your trustworthiness in Shamayim. You said, I have made a contract with my chosen. I have sworn to my servant Dahoud. I establish your seed forever, and you shall build up your throne to all generations. Salah. And the Shamayim praise your wonders, O Yahuah, your trustworthiness too in the assembly of the set-apart ones. For who in Shamayim is comparable to Yah, or to Yahu? For who in Shamayim is comparable to Yahu? I just want to pause there for a quick second and call your attention to that, because last first day in Foundational Facts Fellowship, we were reflecting on the doctrine of the Trinity, or doctrine of duality, or any doctrine that would suggest that there is some mighty one beside Yahuah other than Yahu himself. Okay? And so I just want to call your attention, Mashpaka, to this, because our people, there's still much confusion out there concerning
who Yahuah is. There is no Elohim beside Yahuah. There is no mighty one beside Yahuah. There is no Mashiach. There is no Savior. There is no deliverer beside Yahuah. And the scriptures, Yahuah continue to show us this time and time again throughout the word, throughout his word. And so I just want to call your attention to, I want to highlight, I want to emphasize this statement from the book of Tehillim, chapter 89. This is not a lesson on the subject, but since we're reading and it's right there, I just want to highlight it so that we do not just skip by it, not pay attention to the importance of this statement. So that's why I want to emphasize it, call your attention to it, mark it, highlight it, whatever, make a note of it, right? Yahuah says, for who in Shamayim is comparable to Yahuah? Who among the sons of the mighty is like Yahuah? All his greatly feared in the company of the set apart ones, and awesome above all those around him. O Yahuah, Elohim of hosts, who is mighty like you, O Yahu, and your trustworthiness is all around you. You rule the swelling of the sea. When its waves rise, you still them. You have broken Rakab in pieces as one who is slain. You have scattered your enemies with the arm of your strength. The Shamayim are yours. The Arats also is yours. The world and all that fills it. You have founded them. North and south, you have created them. Tabar and Harman rejoice in your name. You have a mighty arm. Your hand is strong, your right hand exalted. Set apartness and right ruling are the foundation of your throne. Kindness and truth go before your face. Baruch are the people who know the festal trumpet call. They walk, O Yahuah, in the light of your face. In your name they rejoice all day long, and they are exalted in your set apartness. For you are the beauty of their strength, and by your good pleasure your horn is exalted. For Yahuah is our shield, and the set apart one of Yasharal is our sovereign. Then you spoke in a vision to your kind one, and you said, I have given help to one who is mighty. I have exalted one chosen from the people. I have found my servant Dahoud. My set apart oil, I anointed him. With my set apart oil, I anointed him. With whom my hand is established, my arm also strengthens him. No enemy subjects him to tribute, and no son of wickedness afflicts him. And I shall beat down his adversaries before his face, and plague those who hate him. But my trustworthiness and my kindness are with him, and in my name his horn is exalted. And I shall set his hand on the sea, and his right hand on the rivers. He calls out to me, you are my Father, my Al, and the rock of my deliverance. I also appoint him firstborn, highest of the kings of the earth. I guard my kindness for him forever, and my contract is steadfast with him. And I shall establish his seed forever, and his throne as the days of Shamayim. If his sons forsake my Torah and do not walk in my right rulings, if they profane my Torah and do not guard my commands, then I shall visit their transgression with the rod, and their crookedness with flogging. But my kindness I do not take away from him, nor be false to my trustworthiness. I shall not profane my contract, neither would I change what has gone out of my lips. Once I have sworn by my set apartness, I do not lie to Dahoud. His seed shall be forever, and his throne as the sun before me. Like the moon, it is established forever, and the witness in Shamayim is steadfast. Salah. Yet you have rejected and spurned. You have been wroth with your anointed. You have disowned the contract of your servant. You have defiled his diadem in the dust. You have broken down all his hedges. You have brought his strongholds to ruin. All who pass by the way plunder him. He is a reproach to his neighbors. You have exalted the right hand of his adversaries. You have made all his enemies rejoice. Moreover, you have turned back the hedges of the sword, and you have not made him stand in battle. You have brought an end to his splendor, and have hurled his throne to the ground. You have shortened the days of his youth. You have covered him with shame. Salah. How long, O Yahuah, would you be hidden? Would your wrath burn like fire forever? Please remember how short my time is. Why should you have created all the sons of men for nothing? What man would live and not see death? Who rescues his life from the power of the grave? Salah. Yahuah, where are your former kindnesses, which you swore to Dahoud in your trustworthiness? Yahuah, remember the reproach of your servants, that I have borne in my bosom of all the many peoples, with which your enemies have reproached, O Yahuah, with which they have reproached the footsteps of your anointed. Baruch be Yahuah forever. Aman and Aman. Allah Yahuah. Hallelujah. Once again, we say to the Yahuah, Barak Atah Basham, Yahuah. You alone are worthy to be praised. You alone are worthy of esteem. And so we barak the great name of Yahuah today. Halal Yahuah. Family, let us turn our faces toward the set apart place of Yahuah today as we prepare to enter into his set apartness. Halal Yahuah. May Yahuah have his way in our midst today. Hallelujah. Praise Yahuah. Praise Yahuah. Hallelujah. Yahuah. Abba Yahuah, as we come before you with our faces turned towards your set apart place, as you contracted with your servant Shalom, that if my people, when they find themselves scattered, if they would turn their faces toward my set apart place, the place that I have chosen for my name to dwell forever, if they would repent, turn away from their crooked ways, if they would cry out to me, and I would hear from Shamayim, and I would heal their land. Father, we cry out to you today. And Yab Yahuah, even as we come before you, and as I come before you today, Father, I am not worthy of your goodness. I am not worthy of your favor. But Yahuah, I praise and thank you. I say Turah for your great kindness. I say Turah, Yahuah, for your preservation. I say Turah, Yahuah, for your achab. I say Turah, Yahuah, for your steadfastness, for your commitment. And I pray today, Yahuah, that you would have your way in my life and in the life of your people. I pray, Yahuah, that you would continually create in us a clean heart, renew a right spirit within us. Help us, Yahuah, to rejoice in you, to be steadfast in you. May we seek after you continually and wholeheartedly. May we rejoice in you and rejoice in your word and seek out your way. I pray, Yahuah, that we would be instructed by you, that we would be fed by you, that we would be uplifted by you, that we would be strengthened by you. Father, that we would be refreshed by you. Cause us to recognize always and continually that the joy of Yahuah is our strength. And though some may trust in horses, and some may trust in chariots, but help us, Yahuah, to always put our hope in you. And so, Father, we barak your great name today. I pray over every household represented here today, for your people wherever scattered. I pray that your power, that your ruach would be upon us today. I pray that your favor would be upon us. I pray that you would impart your dabar to your people. I pray that our hearts would be strengthened, that our emotions would be healed. I pray, Yahuah, that we would hunger and thirst for you, and that as we hunger and thirst, that you would feed us, that you would fill us. I pray, Yahuah, that you would cause us to drink from that fountain that never runs dry. I pray, Father, that we would be sustained by you, that we would be renewed in you, that we would be overjoyed in you, that we would find strength in you. We barak your great name, Yahuah. Let your name be upon your people today. Visit every household represented here. Cause your people to hear your voice. Cause us to be encouraged by your dabar. Father, cause us to walk in your way and in your word. Abba Yahuah, we humbly submit ourselves to you today. We are unfit and unworthy, but I pray that out of your great kindness and out of your great sympathy, that you would accept the offering of our lips. Father, we have nothing to bring. As a people scattered, as a people in captivity, as a people separated from your set-apart place and the set-apart things of Yahuah, I pray that you would accept the sacrifices of our lips. It is all that we have. It is all that we can bring. And so I pray, Yahuah, that you would accept the sacrifices of our lips. Guide us in your wisdom. Lead us in your word. Do this, we pray today, as we humbly submit ourselves to you. In Yahusha's name. Aman. Allahu Yahuah. Praises to Yahuah. Praise Yahuah. Once again, family, I want to say Shabbat Shalom to each and every one of you. It is wonderful to be here on this, the set-apart day of Yahuah. This is the day that Yahuah has made. We will rejoice and we will be glad in it. Allahu Yahuah. And so I want to say Shabbat Shalom to each and every one of you, to the family joining us via YouTube. I want to greet you in the name of Yahuah. It is wonderful to see each and every one of you today, family. Can't see everybody represented there unless, of course, if you've typed on the board, then I'm able to see who is actually a part of the fellowship here today. But I want to say Shabbat Shalom to Akut Rukia Collins. It is wonderful to see you again, Akut. I want to say Shabbat Shalom to you. Greetings to you and to your Bayat in the name of Yahuah. Also want to greet my Akut Carmen. It is wonderful to see you as always, Akut. Shabbat Shalom to you, Akut. Greetings in the great name of Yahuah today. Also to my Aki M. Harrison. It is great to see you, Aki. Shabbat Shalom to you and to your Bayat, to your Mashpaka. Greetings. Also to Aki Edward, I greet you, Aki, in the awesome name of Yahuah, the preserving name of Yahuah. Shabbat Shalom to you, my Aki. And also to Akut Kaya, to you and to your Bayat. Let the favor of Yahuah continually be on you, Akut. And also to Aki Keith, greetings to you, my Aki. Great to see you as always. Turn my attention to Fuse and say Shabbat Shalom to the family here. To my Akut Yariya, it is wonderful to see you, my dear Akut, as always. Greetings to you, Akut. Also want to say Shabbat Shalom to my Aki Willie and to Akut Bernice. Shabbat Shalom to you, Mashpaka, and also to Aki Maganyahu. Greetings to you, my Aki. Wonderful to see you. Also to Aki Keith. Is it Yeah, so I did greet Aki Keith. Aki Keith is represented here also. Also to Akut Joan, I want to say Shabbat Shalom to my Akut. It is wonderful to see you as always, Akut. And to my Akut Gina, the same to you, Akut. Greetings to you, Akut. Shabbat Shalom. And also to Aki Edward. I think I did greet Aki Edward there on YouTube, sorry. But greetings again, Aki. And also to Akut Cheryl and Akut Amuna and Aki Adial and also Akut Angela. Shabbat Shalom to you, Akut, and Aki Philip. Greetings to you. Thanks for the wave, Akut, and also to Akut Jeanette Yakanun, and to your household. I want to say Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom to you all, family. It is indeed a delight and the baraka to be here today. We give Yahuah praise, honor, and esteem for his greatness, for his goodness, for his great favor, for his compassion, for his sympathy, for all that Yahuah does. We esteem him today. Halahu Yahuah. There is truly none like him. There is truly none like him. Halahu Yahuah. And Tuda Akut Amuna, Tuda Rabba Akut. And so, family, greetings to you all. And again, let me just say, from my house to you, to yours, from our home to yours, we say Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. All right, so excited to be here and excited about what we're getting into today. But before we do, I would like to open up the mic to the family. If there's anyone that would like to come to the mic to esteem Yahuah today. And you know what, family, I just want to take a moment to, again, to express my gratitude, my continued gratitude to you for your support of this work, your support, whether it be through your prayers or your encouragement or through your giving. It is indeed a baraka to the people of Yahuah. It is a baraka to myself. And so I want to say Tuda. Don't say that enough. I don't say that enough. I want to express my most sincere gratitude for each and every one of you. I do want to express my gratitude to you. And in particular, I just want to say for those of you who have given your gifts, continue to help to be a baraka to the people of Yahuah. We are needed, and to the spreading of the word of Yahuah. It helps us to get the word out via YouTube. And so I want to say to the Rabbah. Don't say thank you enough in that regards, and so I just want to say to you all for that. There is a reason why I don't emphasize that much, but at the same time, I want to make sure that I emphasize my gratitude to you. I don't talk about giving much because I don't want anybody to feel condemned into giving anything. I don't want you to feel that way. Even though giving is an important part of who the people of Yahuah is, but I don't want anybody to feel condemned in any way whatsoever. And so I don't talk about it much, but I must express my deepest gratitude to you in that regard also. And again, for your continued prayer, your support in every way, I just want to say to that Rabbah. Okay. Now, moving on, before we go any further, I just want to I'd like to open up the mic. I don't know if there's anyone who have a testimony that you would like to share. Certainly, Yahuah has been good to us. He's kept us all week long. He has certainly been good to us. He's been great to us. He's been great to us, you see. And so I just want to praise Yahuah. You know, last week, family, I shared with you a testimony. Let me just say this very quickly. Shared with you a testimony of Yahuah's goodness, of Yahuah's greatness, of the fact that it was raining. I went around a tractor trailer and not being able to see that there was a red light right in front of the tractor trailer. I thought it was just a traffic issue. Went around the tractor trailer, and when I pulled out from behind the tractor trailer, I had to speed up to make sure that the car coming in the lane that I'm merging into, that the cars coming in that lane did not rear end me. And so I sped up to get around the tractor trailer. And when I sped up, immediately I realized there was a red light. And so I I hit the brake, slammed on the brake, and my vehicle continued to slide, and it slid through the intersection, slid through the red light. And as I'm sliding through the intersection, there are cars coming now in the intersection from the other direction, through the light. They have the green, I have the red. I continue to slide, and I'm sliding toward this car that's coming through the intersection. And Yahuah was so good, he allowed me to stop just inches from the car. And but here's the other thing. So Yahuah kept me in that. Now here's the other thing. My vehicle had failed inspection back in February. My vehicle had failed inspection, and the engine light was on. That's why it failed inspection, and I needed to get that fixed. Didn't really have the money to take care of it. Didn't have the money to take care of it. Even up until this point. So I've been driving with a rejected sticker because of the engine light being on. But you know what's amazing? What I realized a few days after that incident, I realized that after my car had slid it through this intersection, and that we're almost got into a terrible accident, I realized a day or so later that the engine light for which the car failed inspection was no longer on. And so I drove for a few more days to see if it's going to come back on. The engine light never came back on. So I took the car to motor vehicle for inspection, and the car passed with flying colors. And so it seemed as if what it needed was the shake-up that it got when I slammed the brake and slid through that intersection. And you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of our people. It reminded me of our people living in Big Valley, where a shaking is necessary to fix our problem. You see, so obviously the car needed a shaking, because when I hit that brake, I mean, it was shaking, and it just kept sliding. But obviously it fixed the problem. The shaking fixed the problem. And I took it to motor vehicle, and it flew through inspection with not a problem. Got a new sticker, and I say, Halahu Yahuah, praise Yahuah. You know, sometimes Yahuah does things and allow things, and we don't see in the moment how it's going to work out for our benefit. In the moment, we're looking like, wow, this is going to be the end of me. This is the destruction of me. Certainly, I'm going to be broadsided, and I might not live through this accident. You see, not realizing that all along, Yahuah has been in control. You see, I don't know how it fixed the problem, but it did. But what I do know is that Yahuah is great, and we can't always fathom, we can't always understand his working. And so I just give Yahuah praise, honor, and esteem. It's been now 2 weeks, and that light has not been back on, and I have an updated registration inspection sticker. And so I give Yahuah praise, honor, and esteem for that. So that's just a continuation of last week's testimony. And I just want to barak Yahuah for that, because that was the doing of Yahuah. Hallelujah. Yes, indeed. Praise Yahuah. All right. Keith, I see your flag. Go ahead, Aki.
Shabbat Shalom, family. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom to you, Aki.
Okay, I'm gonna try to condense this testimony. Well, I'm living in California right now, LA.
Okay.
But this happened because I'm originally from Delaware, so I was driving back home to Delaware. Well, I was in Delaware going to Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Okay. Of course, we know on the East Coast, we understand the black ice. Out here in California, they don't understand that. So on the East Coast, we understand the black ice. Mm-hmm. So me and my friend, Alonzo, he was living in Pittsburgh. I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan.
Okay.
So he said, hey, you know, I need someone to take me home. I'm like, okay, I'll take you home. He said, okay, in a couple of days? I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. I said, you know, I'm a Steelers fan. I want to go by the stadium anyway. Mm-hmm. And so we was on our way to Pennsylvania. And we got on the bridge. Of course, anyone been on the bridge, they understand you got the railing and you got the wires on the bridge also. Mm-hmm. So as we was entering into Pennsylvania, on our way to Pittsburgh, I hit a patch of black ice. And so my car swerved left, right, and I was going into the rail. And I mean, this is seemed like something out of TV, but this was actually true. It was like 11 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
And a messenger of Yahuah picked my car up off the bridge.
Wow.
Took it over the railing, over the wire, over the body of water, because I cannot swim, and landed the car right on the seashore. It was like the car never left the ground.
Wow.
Yeah,
Whoa.
that's how I was too.
Wow.
I mean, that was like,
Wow.
if I had never seen a miracle in my
Wow.
life, not only did I see it, but everybody that was on that bridge
Wow.
seen it also.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. Allahu Yahuah. Amazing. Yahuah does amazing things. Allahu Yah. Allahu
Yes, he does.
Yahuah.
All right.
Amazing.
Thank you, family.
Tada Aki. Tada. And you know, it's important for us to share our testimonies, because oftentimes we become so bogged down in the happenings of the day. You know, we see evil all around us, right? We just read from Tehillim chapter 89, where the servant of Yahuah, you know, he started out in praising Yahuah and talking about the promises that Yahuah has made to the people. And then he transitioned. He said, now, but what happened now, Yahuah? Now, you said that you would do this, that, and the other. But now you did also say that if we would stray away from your word, then oppression would come upon us. And so now he's living in the oppression. And even though he knew why he was living in the oppression, yet he couldn't help but question Yahuah. Tehillim 89, we just read it. He couldn't help but ask, when are you going to deliver, Yahuah? Okay, I understand that you got mad at us, but man, it seemed like we've been in your madness now for a little while. When are you going to deliver? And sometimes when we're in the midst of Yahuah's correction, Yahuah's chastisement, we lose sight of the fact that Yahuah is still working on our behalf in the midst of everything that's going on, in the midst of the craziness, in the midst of the hostility of the wicked. We lose sight of the fact that Yahuah is still working on our behalf. And because we lose sight, because we become so focused on the hostility, then we fail to see the workings of Yahuah in our lives and in the lives of our brothers and sisters. And so, yes, Yahuah is still doing great things and working great miracles in the life of his people. And that testimony from our Aki is witness to that. But unless we share them, then we become bogged down with only the chastisement and not see the goodness of Yahuah in the midst of our chastisement. And so what Aki was saying there was, we would just say that it was an accident, that he ran off the bridge, and you know, some people, let me just say, some people would just see it as there was an accident, he ran off the bridge, and then somehow the car, they don't even think about the fact that the gravity now, that gravity should have pulled the car straight down and into the water. They don't think about that. But he ran off this bridge, and the messenger of Yahuah took the car and caused it to fly over the water and land on the shore, never once going into the water. That's the working of Yahuah. You see, that's the goodness of Yahuah, even to his people in the midst of oppression. And so Yahuah still works on behalf of his people. We don't have to run around and try to make things happen. Yahuah works when he gets ready. We don't have to run around and make up false testimonies. Yahuah works when he gets ready. And so we give Yahuah praise, honor, and esteem, because Yahuah is still working on behalf of his people and in the life of his people. And so we say, Barak Atah Basham Yahuah, Halahu Yahuah. We go to Aki Maganyahu, And again, family, if there's anyone else who wish to share a testimony, by all means, please do today. I also want to say, family, our Akut Kaya is asking the Mashpaka to keep her in our prayer because she is deeply troubled. And so may Yahuah Barak our Akut, and may he bring shalom your way, Akut, and whatever the enemy, whatever storm the enemy is stirring, may Yahuah calm that storm. Hallelujah. And so may Yahuah barak you and strengthen you and keep you and encourage you. May the joy of Yahuah be your strength. Hallelujah. Please go ahead, Aki. Aki Maganyahu. Mic is yours, Aki.
Shabbat Shalom, family. Turah Aki for the mic. I just wanted to give Yahuah praise for how great he is. And family, I've been looking for like some local fellowship for weeks now. I've been praying about that. It's something that I've just been wanting, needing, looking for, and Father kind of guided me towards a local home group. And last night I got to meet with him, and it was a great experience. Everybody there is still learning and growing, and we're humble. And it was it was an amazing thing, and I wanted to give Yahuah praise for that and thank him for that. And just encourage you, family, if there's something that Father put on your heart or anything that you want to go after, pray for it and go do it. Don't give up. Just keep seeking, keep looking, and he'll provide. Shabbat Shalom, family.
Indeed, praise Yahuah. Certainly Yahuah hears the cry of his people and he responds. Praise Yahuah. And so I'm excited to hear that, Aki. May Yahuah barak that fellowship and increase it. Praise Father. Hallelujah. It is unfortunately, as a people, we are so scattered. Sorry about that. As a people, we are so scattered. We are very scattered as a people, and it makes such a difference when we can come together in the flesh. It is encouraging and uplifting, and so it is not common to find a people that you can actually come together in the flesh and fellowship. For example, there's one family that I met from our area, live not very far from here. They asked us, if we would immerse them, and in the end, only the Akut was immersed. But we met them, and it was just something odd about it. And in the end, the video was on YouTube, and they sent me a message asking me to remove the video because they don't believe in Yahusha anymore. They want me to remove the message. But our people are so conflicted and so divided, is the point that I'm trying to make, that seeking to find fellowship, where you can come together in the flesh, it can be so difficult. And so Yahuah, the people of Yahuah, the elect of Yahuah, because certainly not everyone who calls on the name of Yahuah is the elect of Yahuah. Scriptures tells us that. And so it is really difficult to find people whose intent and desire is for the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And so when we find that, indeed, we give Yahuah praise, honor, and esteem. And so I praise Yahuah for you, Aki, and for that opportunity. May Yahuah continue to barak and keep you and strengthen that fellowship. I see there's Akut Yariya. Please go ahead, Akut. I see your flag, Akut. Let me see. I'm going to unmute your mic for you, Akut. I'm not sure if you're having trouble doing so. Oh, you got it. Okay, great.
I was having a little problem. Shabbat Shalom to everyone.
Shabbat Shalom, Akut.
Zaki. And I just want to give praise to the Father, just for his mercy, because you're right. Oftentimes when we're going through things, and life is continually going through things. We don't have to think of how merciful he really has been to us, and he truly is. And, you know, it's not how we start out, it's how we end up.
Yes, indeed.
As a people, the living of the word is true, but we have to learn to accept what Yahuah allows.
Yes.
And it's many years, many years to get. It doesn't feel good oftentimes, a lot of things that we go through, but there's great humbling in accepting what the Father does allow. Yes. And the fact that he will bring us through it. Thanks for that. I would like to request prayer for a little great niece. She's she's going to be 4 months old, Will. Mm-hmm. And this we had talked about before. She had to have emergency brain surgery. Mm-hmm. And so the surgery that they did failed. Mm. And about having to do it again.
Okay.
I'm
sorry, Akut. This is my apologies. This thing keeps starting. I'll change it. Give me just a second.
But my nephew doesn't really know other than what little we talked about.
Okay.
It's very interesting that he named his daughter Amaya, mm-hmm. which means close to Yah. I think I looked that up, but I think that's absolutely amazing. Yeah. So I would like to ask prayer for her. And I told my sister, who's going up to, they're actually close to Pittsburgh. She's driving up there too. And I told her, because I haven't had an opportunity to talk to my nephew, but to tell her the meaning of the name. All the boys and the mother and father, the meaning of the name of Amaya. And my prayer is that they will come to understand who the Father is, and that Amaya will be raised up to be close to Yahuah. Mm-hmm. And knows nothing, but I give praise to the Father for even that experience, and ins and outs, and I just want to acknowledge him in all things. So Turah for the mic.
Praise Yahuah, praise Father Akut, and we give Yahuah praise, and we will continue to keep Amaya in our prayer. And as you said, our people many times, we do things not understanding what we do, not realizing that we're destined. We're a destined people. And sometimes we act in destiny, for the lack of a better term, and not realizing that we're acting, living in our destiny, and so but you also brought something else. You also brought up another very important point, one that should not be missed, and it is this, and that is that and we talked about this many times, true belief, right? True belief, and really our ability to accept whatever it is that Yahuah has determined. Our ability to accept whatever it is that Yahuah has determined. When we lack the ability to accept, which is to lack amunah. To lack the ability to accept is to lack amunah, to lack the ability to believe. Because you see, believe from an Abari perspective it's not wishful thinking. That's Christian faith. We don't have faith. We have amunah. We have amunah. And that is the ability to live out and live through whatever the will of Yahuah is. Whatever Yahuah has determined, so let it be. And difficult times can test our amunah. Difficult times can cause us to pray against amunah. Because even though Yahuah may have determined the thing, our inability to accept what it is that he has determined can cause us to rebel against what he has determined. Sometimes not realizing that we are rebelling. rather than to say, not my will, but let your will be done. Not my will, Yahuwah, but let your will be done. My Asha this morning was reading from the book of Sirach, chapter 38. And in chapter 38, it's talking about death and dying. And it's talking about death and grieving. And it's telling you that you can't continue to grieve and mourn the death of a loved one continually because it's not healthy for you. If you do, it will end up being the death of you. And so there is a time for grieving, but then you must snap out of it. You must come through it, because if you continue to stay in that place, then it's not going to be good for you. You see, is what Yahuwah said in his word in the book of Sirach. But I bring that up as an example because that's a difficult thing for us as a people, because you know why it's so difficult? You know why it's so difficult? Because we have lost our way. Because we have lost our way. We have lost our way concerning everything, even the way we look at death and the way we look at life, you see. And so we spend more time grieving over stuff that we should be rejoicing over, and rejoicing over stuff that we should be grieving over, you see. And in the end, it impacts us terribly. But so much of our captivity, our scattering have affected us in such a great way concerning everything, you know. But we have to be able to accept whatever the will of Yahuwah is. It does not mean that now you don't cry out to Yahuwah and you don't act, because there is a time for everything under the sun. Yahuwah tells us that also. But once Yahuwah has made it plain what time it is, and has caused you to know how to act in what time, he's caused you to know his will, then that you have to be able to accept whatever it is. We cry out to Yahuwah because we don't know everything. We continue to ask Yahuwah to lead us, to guide, and to respond. And Yahuwah does. But when he responds in a way that is not what we want, what our flesh desire, we've got to be able to see what Yahuwah is doing in the midst of that also. But nonetheless, we continue to cry out to him, because Yahuwah, he says that he hears the cry of his people. He says, if you ask as his children, if you ask for bread, would he give you a stone? You see. So we've got to cry. We do continue to cry out to him. But in crying out to him, when he responds a certain way, we also have to have that ability to accept whatever his will is. And that's something that Akut Yariyah just brought up. And I believe that it's important. And that's why I wanted to bring it back around again, because she said some profound things there just now. But to Yahuwah be all esteem. Hallelujah. Okay, well, family, we are getting ready then. If there are no other testimonies or comments, we're going to get ready to get into our study for today. Again, I'm excited about our study. And we're going in the book of Mashaly. Mashaly is the plural form of proverb. Proverb is mashal. Mashaly is Proverbs, right? So Mashaly is Proverbs. Okay. Mashaly is Proverbs. Mashaly means Proverbs. But when you're speaking of one, it's mashal, proverb. Bear with me just for a second. Proverb. So we're going through the book of Mashaly, the book of Proverbs. And then as we go through the book of Proverbs, the book of Mashaly, we're also going to be reading from the book or the Saphar book or the Saphar. This is what the Yiddish, what they in the Yiddish influence on this word present it as this Saphar. Okay, not Saphar, but Saphar. I'm sorry, Saphar book. Okay, we're going to be going through the book of Yahusha, the Ban, son of Saraya, who they call Sirach. Okay, so you can see from what's written on the screen, again, the impact that Yiddish has on our language, how it changes everything. That's why it's important for us to get back to our language. And if we're going to be studying our language, we can't study Hebrew and think that we're studying our language. We can't teach Hebrew and think that we're teaching our language. We got to teach Abari. We got to study Abari because that's our language. It's not Hebrew. Hebrew is something else. Hebrew, it is the Yiddish corruption, the European corruption of our language. So these are the books that we're going to be looking at, family. And so we are titled this series, A Study in Wisdom. A Study in Wisdom. A Study in Wisdom. So we're going to be doing a study in wisdom. We're going to be doing a study in wisdom. Okay. Now, in seeking to attain wisdom, as we prepare to go into these writings, as a matter of fact, before we do that, let's just do this. Before we do that, let's do this, because I show you Sirach. We're going to do a little bit of background reading on the book of Sirach before, and then so we can get all that out of the way, and then we can get right into it. Okay, we're going to do some background reading. As with scriptures, as with many of these scriptures, and in particular the book of Saraya, they call Sirach. It's the original writings, it was actually quite fragmented. It's quite fragmented. And so a lot of what you find in translation, a lot of it is actually filled in. But there can be an issue when you start filling stuff in. When the Christian translators begin to fill stuff in, then you can run into a lot of issues because things get put in that shouldn't be there, you see. But because it's so fragmented, in other words, because a lot of these texts have been, over time deteriorated and got lost, you have portions that are fragmented. And what they try to do is they try to piece together different manuscripts in order to complete the translation. And so you find issues easily in translation. Okay. But the book of what they call the book of Sirach, they call it Sirach. The name of the book, like I stated, is not Sirach, right? This book actually has 3 different names. It can be called, it is known depending on what manuscript the translators translated it from. If it's translated from the Septuagint, which is a Greek manuscript that was translated from Abari into Koine Greek by our people, the people of Yasharal. If it's translated from the Septuagint, then normally you would see it with the name Saphar Ban Sayara, okay, or Sayara, right? Saphar Ban Sayara, meaning the book is Saphar Ban Yahusha Saraya, right? Meaning the book of the son of Yahusha, Sirach, okay? So this is Sirach, Samach, Yad, Rash, Aleph. And you'll notice that there is no kat in it. So, and kat is where you would get the ch in Sirach from. And so there's none of that in there. So that's not what the name of the book is. I just want to point out these things because, again, we need to clarify them so that as a people, we don't continue to believe whatever they lay before us. And also in clarifying them, it makes us aware of the unnecessary deception of the wicked when it comes to the writings, okay? So these are some of the manuscripts. These aren't original manuscripts, okay? These are actually later manuscripts, not original manuscripts, but they are some of the earlier manuscripts that are found, okay, of the writings, okay? So we're going to be, let me read, matter of fact, before we go there, well, we'll just read the prologue, okay? We'll read the prologue, and then we're going to stop because Sirach, the book of Sayara, the writings, this collection of wisdom, these writings, they were written to a scattered people. The book of Sayara, the book of Sirach. It was Yahusha, who is the son of Sayara. He wrote these writings to a scattered people. Okay, and what he did was he found these writings and he rewrote them, not changing them, but basically preserved them for a people who had been scattered, a people who had been separated from the word of Yahuah. So we're going to get this part out of the way. We're going to get the prologue out of the way, which is a part of the writings because he included it as an introduction to the writing. So we're going to get this out of the way as we prepare to get into these writings. We're not necessarily starting in this book, but I just want to get this out the way. We're going to go to the book of Mashaly, but before we go to the book of Mashaly, we're going to talk about getting wisdom, okay? Our approach to wisdom, what our approach must be in seeking wisdom. We're going to talk about that. So that's going to cause us to also go to the book of Ecclesiastes for a moment. So we're going to jump over to the book of Ecclesiastes as we prepare to begin here also. So this is from Sayara, chapter 1, verse 1. The prologue of the wisdom of Yahusha, not Jesus, not Joshua. The prologue of the wisdom of Yahusha, the son of Sayara, they say Sirach. Whereas many and great things have been delivered unto us by the Torah and the prophets, and by others that have followed their steps, for the which things Yasharal ought to be commended for learning and wisdom. And whereof not only the readers must needs become skillful themselves, but also they that desire to learn be able to profit them which are without, both by speaking and writing. My grandfather Yahusha when he had much given himself to the reading of the Torah and the prophets and other books of our fathers, and had gotten therein good judgment, was drawn on also himself to write something pertaining to learning and wisdom, to the intent that those which are desirous to learn and are addicted to these things might profit much more in living according to the Torah. Wherefore, let me entreat you to read it with favor and attention, and to pardon us wherein we may seem to come short of some words, which we have labored to interpret. Now, this is a man of Yasharal, and this is his prologue to the writing. Basically, what you're going to see as we continue to read is that he found these writings of Yasharal, written by his grandfather. He found them, but they had been translated into a foreign language. And so now he took it upon himself to translate it back for his people. They were translated into a foreign language for a people of Yasharal living in a foreign land. Okay. He says, for the same things, let me read on. Wherefore, let me entreat you to read it with favor and attention, and to pardon us wherein we may seem to come short of some words, which we have labored to interpret. For the same things uttered in Abari and translated into another tongue have not the same force in them. This is something that we have talked about here also on past occasions, about the fact that you can't communicate something well enough that's written in Abari. You can't communicate it in English well enough, or in any other language for that matter. You cannot translate it well enough into another language, because Abari is a pictographic language. When you begin to take it into another language, sometimes it gets watered down. And this is what he's saying. So basically, his grandfather had written these writings in Abari, and they were later translated into other languages because our people were scattered into other places. And so he's translating it from his grandfather's language, Abari, his language, into the language of a people now in Mitzrayim at this time. And he's telling them that I'm going to try my best. I've tried my best to convey what is being said in the language of your captivity, but I'm sure that I fall short, because there's no way of me completely communicating it with the kind of force that you would get if you were reading it in its original language. So that's what the point that he's making to the people of Yasharal who will later read this. So he says, for the same things uttered in Habari and translated into another tongue have not the same force in them. And not only these things, but the Torah itself and the prophets and the rest of the books have no small difference when they are spoken in their own language. For in the 8th and 30th year, coming into Mitzrayim, when Eucharis was king, and continuing there some time, I found a book of no small learning. Okay? A book with much knowledge, much wisdom. Therefore, I thought it most necessary for me to bestow some diligence and travail to interpret it, using great watchfulness and skill in that space to bring the book to an end, and set it forth for them also, which in a strange country are willing to learn, being prepared before in the manners to live after the Torah. All wisdom comes from Yahuah and is with him forever. Okay, so that is an introduction by the writer by the translator. He's not the original writer. He's simply translating these writings. Okay, and that is an introduction of him to the reader, the people of Yasharal, to the writings. Okay, so I wanted to get that out of the way, and then we're going to come back and we're going to be reading through this text as we go through our study in wisdom. Okay, now as a people, when it comes to wisdom, how must we approach our search for wisdom? How should we approach our search for wisdom? Okay. The scriptures tells us how to. So we're going to go to the book of Ecclesiastes. We're on a journey to find wisdom. Okay. But how do we take that journey? How do we approach our search for wisdom? And what is wisdom? What is wisdom? Wisdom basically is gaining a knowledge of the word of Yahuah. You know, right there in the prologue that we just read, he talked about, basically what he was saying was that these writings is a guide to understanding Torah, is what he was saying. Over the years, I've seen a lot of people just jump into Torah and begin to interpret Torah without first becoming familiar with Torah. You see, without first searching out wisdom on Torah. And when you jump into something without understanding it, you're always going to misrepresent it. When you speak about something without having a proper context of it, you're always going to run the risk of misrepresenting it. Okay? So these writings are intended to give the reader a rounded context concerning Torah. What is Torah? Is Torah the so-called first 5 books of the Bible? No, that's not what Torah is. According to Torah, Torah is all the instructions of Yahuah. It's not limited to 5 books, but all the instructions of Yahuah, his Torah, because that's what Torah is. Torah is the instructions of Yahuah. And the instructions of Yahuah are not limited to 5 books. You see, that's Jewish teaching, but not according to scripture. You see. Now, I'm going to read. Oh, I'm sorry, family. I just noticed on Facebook that the people on Fuse, family on Fuse, wasn't seeing the screen. I'm so sorry about that. Okay. My apologies there, family. Okay, I forget. Got many moving parts here, and I got to remember to keep up with them. Okay. So Ecclesiastes chapter 5 is where we're going to begin. Okay. Ecclesiastes chapter 5. Ecclesiastes chapter 5. So how do we begin our approach in the search of wisdom? Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verse 1 and 2 and 3 is a good guide. Guard your steps when you go to the house of Elohim. Guard your steps when you go to the house of Elohim, and draw near to listen, rather than to give the slaughtering of fools. For they do not know what they do, that they do evil. What is the slaughtering of fools? What is the slaughtering of fools? Say, guard your steps when you go to the house of Elohim, and draw near to listen, rather than to give the slaughtering of fools. for they do not know that they do evil. The slaughtering of fools are the many words of their lips. Okay? The slaughtering of fools are the many words of their lips. I want to read this from a different translation. Let me see if I have a printed out translation here. Let me just see if I can read it from a different. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can just find a different translation on screen. Let me see what this American King James says. Keep your foot when you go to the house of Yahuah, and this is why I don't use these translations, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Yahuah. All right, let me go back because I don't really like to put up with the God and stuff if I don't have to. So guard your steps when you go to the house of Elohim, and draw near to listen rather than to give the slaughtering of fools. So to give the slaughtering of fools is to utter many words, to speak prematurely, or to talk too much. We're told in the book of Mashaly that even a fool is considered wise when he keeps his mouth shut. So the first step to seeking wisdom and to gain it is to listen more than you speak, right? Guard your steps when you go to the house of Elohim, and draw near to listen rather than to give the slaughtering of fools. Wisdom is found in the house of Yahuah. Wisdom is found in the word of Yahuah. So when we talk about going to the house of Yahuah, it can be the literal house as in the Haykal of Yahuah, or his house is also his word, right? His house is also his word. And so when we go to his word, guard our steps. Guard your steps when you go to the house of Yahuah, and draw near to listen rather than to give the slaughtering of fools, for they do not know that they do evil. Do not be hasty with your mouth, and let not your heart hurry to bring forth a word before Elohim. Now, the slaughtering of fools can be your words. The slaughtering of fools can also be very literal, where you have people giving up slaughterings where they shouldn't be giving up slaughterings. Or you have people giving up slaughterings when they shouldn't be giving up slaughterings. Or you have people giving up slaughterings or defiled slaughterings. Right? So the slaughtering of fools covers many things. Do not be hasty with your mouth, and let not your heart hurry to bring forth a word before Elohim. Every time you come before Yahuah, you don't have to be chatty, as they'd say in Jamaica. You don't have to be chatty. It's all right to come before Yahuah just to listen. Let the lips rest. Because folly can be found where there are many words. Do not be hasty with your mouth, and let not your heart hurry to bring forth a word before Elohim. For Elohim is in Shamayim, and you are on Arats. Therefore, let your words be few. In other words, you don't see what Yahuah see. You don't understand what Yahuah knows and what Yahuah understands, and therefore let your words be few. When we go through situations that we don't understand, let our words be few. For a dream comes through the greatness of the task, and a fool's voice is known by his many words. A fool is known by his many words. The opposite of being wise is to be a fool. A wise person speaks little, hears much, listens much. A fool speaks much, but listens little, and that's why he will continue to be a fool. Because while he should be learning and while he should be observing, he is speaking. And so he's putting out more than he's getting in. And if you're putting out more than you're getting in, eventually what comes out is going to be vain. Eventually what comes out is going to be empty. Okay? So the pursuit of wisdom begins with the ability to listen and to observe more than we utter. Okay? And so we must eat more of Yahuwah's word than we divulge, We must eat more than we put out. Because if we're putting out more than we eat, then what's going to happen is we're going to put out vanity. We're going to begin to put out a lot of vain stuff. We're going to begin to put out a whole lot of made up stuff. But if we eat more than we put out, then what we put out will only be the word of Yahuwah that was put in. Okay, so we must listen more than we speak. We must observe more than we do. You see. Now, we're going to begin then in the book of Mashaly. And again, as we go through the book of Mashaly, we're going to be going through, as a matter of fact, we're going to begin in Sirach chapter 1, and then we're going to jump over to Mashaly. Sirach chapter 1. Or, it's really not Sirach, but you see, bad habits die hard, they say, right? Sayara chapter 1. We already read the introduction, and so we're jumping into verse 2. Who can number the sand of the sea and the drops of rain and the days of eternity? Who can find out the height of Shamayim and the breadth of the earth and the deep and wisdom? Wisdom has been created before all things, and the understanding of prudence from everlasting. Okay, it says wisdom has been created before all things, and the understanding of prudence from everlasting. We're going to come back to the creation of wisdom. We're going to talk about that. There are people out there who believe that wisdom is the female not attribute, is a female deity. There are people out there who believes that wisdom is a female deity, the queen of heaven. That's not according to scriptures. That's not according to truth. So we're going to be looking at who is wisdom. You see, we're going to be looking at who is wisdom. It says, wisdom hath been created before all things, and the understanding of prudence from everlasting. The word of Yahuwah Most High is the foundation of wisdom. The word of Elohim Most High is the foundation of wisdom. So, if we want wisdom, we've got to go to the foundation, and the foundation of wisdom is the word of Yahuwah. And her ways are everlasting commandments. Her ways are everlasting commandments. Here we see wisdom being referred to as her. We're going to talk about that as we go on. To whom has the root of wisdom been revealed? Or who has known her wise counsels? Unto whom has the knowledge of wisdom been made manifest? And who has understood her great experience? There is one wise and greatly to be feared, Yahuwah sitting upon his throne. There is one wise and greatly to be feared, that is Yahuwah sitting upon his throne. He created her and saw her, and numbered her, and poured her out upon all his works. She is with all flesh according to his gift. So wisdom is with all flesh, even the wicked as a measure of wisdom. Wisdom has been given to all flesh. And Yahuwah had to give wisdom to all flesh, because if he did not, then he would be unjust in his judgment. So wisdom is given to all flesh, but it is only a measure of wisdom is given to all flesh. So everybody has a measure of wisdom. However, this is what happens. So she is with all flesh according to his gift, and he has given her to them that loved him. Another translation says that he has poured her out upon them that loved him. So a measure of wisdom is given to all flesh, but he pours out wisdom upon them that love him. Those who love him and those who seek him inherit an outpouring of wisdom. You see, the fear of Yahuah is honor and esteem and gladness and the crown of rejoicing. The fear of Yahuah is honor and esteem and gladness and a crown of rejoicing. When we fear Yahuah, there is honor, there is esteem and gladness and the crown of rejoicing. The fear of Yahuah makes a merry heart and gives joy and gladness and a long life. Whoso fears Yahuah, it shall go well with him at the last. Notice, whoso fears Yahuah, it shall go well with him in the end, at the last. Simply because you fear Yahuah does not mean that your beginning will always be smooth. Simply because you fear Yahuah does not mean that your life will always be rosy. Simply because you fear Yahuah does not mean that you will not see difficulty. Simply because you fear Yahuah does not mean that you will not face persecution and prosecution. Simply because you fear Yahuah does not mean that you will not be the victim of injustice. The fear of Yahuah makes a merry heart and gives joy and gladness and a long life. Whoso fears Yahuah, it shall go well with him at the last, and he shall find favor in the day of his death. To fear Yahuah is the beginning of wisdom, and it was created with those who believe in the womb, okay, or with the elect in the womb. It says with the faithful. It was created with the elect in the womb. She has built an everlasting foundation with men, and she shall continue with their seed. To fear Yahuah is fullness of wisdom, and fills men with her fruits. She fills all their house with things desirable, and the garners with her increase. The fear of Yahuah is a crown of wisdom, making peace, making shalom and perfect health to nourish, both which are the gifts of Elohim, and it enlarge their rejoicing that love him. So wisdom begins. So as you journey to pursue wisdom, you must recognize that listening is more important than speaking, and observing before acting. Okay, so as we begin our journey in search of wisdom, we must recognize that listening is more detrimental and more critical than speaking. Be slow to speak, quick to hear, quick to listen, and be slow to act and more quick to observe, to pay attention, to watch. You see, but then after that, we must recognize that to gain wisdom, simply keeping your mouth shut and listening is not enough. Simply watching rather than acting before gaining knowledge is not enough. The fear of Yahuah is critical. We must fear Yahuah. As we continue in our study, we're going to see what fearing Yahuah looks like. Fearing Yahuah is not what the Christians teach about fearing him. Fearing Yahuah is having a real fear of Yahuah. It is that fear that preserves us. Every parent should know that unless your children have some real fear of you, then they're just going to run over you. Your children, no, of course, society tells you that your children should not have any fear of you. No, your children need to have some fear of you. There is healthy fear and there is unhealthy fear. We need to have a healthy fear of Yahuah. You see. And so all of this is the beginning of wisdom. We need to fear Yahuah. We need to fear Yahuah. You see. To fear Yahuah is fullness of wisdom and it fills men with her fruits. You see. Should I respond openly? Okay. So, you know, my wife just jotted down. So would that portion of wisdom that's given to all men, would that be considered common sense? Yes, basically. You see. Right. You see, would that be considered common sense, what we call common sense? Yes, and not so common sense too, because even the wicked, if they would slow down and think about their actions, then they would respond to things differently in a way that is not so common but is right. You see, but yet not to the degree of wisdom that Yahuah imparts to his elect, to his set apart people. So the fear of Yahuah is a crown of wisdom, making shalom and perfect health to flourish, both which are the gifts of Elohim, and it enlarges their rejoicing that love him. So the fear of Yahuah is a gift from Yahuah. You see, the fear of Yahuah is a gift from Yahuah, meaning then that as people, we cannot just simply automatically fear Yahuah the way that he should be feared, but the fear of Yahuah is a gift from Yahuah. That is one of the reasons why you see where Shaul says that no one can boast. Because for us to turn to Yahuah must mean then that we have the fear of Yahuah, and therefore we turn to Yahuah. And we only turn to Yahuah because we have been gifted with the fear of Yahuah. Verse 19, wisdom rains down skill and knowledge. Wisdom rains down skill and knowledge and understanding, and exalts them to honor that hold her fast. Wisdom rains down skill and knowledge and of understanding, and exalts them to honor that holds fast to her. The root of wisdom is to fear Yahuah, and the branches thereof are long life. So when we fear Yahuah, the benefit of fearing Yahuah is long life. A furious man cannot be justified, for the sway of his fury shall be his destruction. A furious man cannot be justified, for the sway of his fury shall be his destruction. You know, there is a difference between being furious and being, how should I put it? There's a difference between furious and being angry. There's nothing wrong with being angry. But when you begin to act furiously, it means that you are acting not out of wisdom, but out of fury, which means you're all over the place. You see, when you become furious, you stop thinking. You're acting and you're moving, but you're not thinking about your actions. And that will be your destruction. A furious man cannot be justified, for the sway of his fury shall be his destruction. A patient man will tear for a time. A patient man will cry for a time, and afterward joy shall spring up unto him. He will hide his words for a time, the patient man, the wise man. He will hide his word for a time, and the lips of many shall declare his wisdom. So the wise man is not always quick to speak. He will hide his word for a time. And the wise man will not always remain silent. In other words, the wise man knows when to speak and when to act. The parables of knowledge are in the treasures of wisdom. But goodness, or set apartness is an abomination to the transgressor. The parables of knowledge are in the treasures of wisdom, but set apartness is an abomination to the transgressor. To the one who hates set apartness, to the one who hates cleanness, set apartness is an abomination to them. If you desire wisdom, keep the commandments, keep the bar of Yahuah. If you desire wisdom, keep the bar of Yahuah, and Yahuah shall give her unto you. For the fear of Yahuah is wisdom and instruction, and belief and meekness are his delight. Distrust not the fear of Yahuah when you are poor. Distrust not the fear of Yahuah when you are poor. And come not unto him with a double heart. Distrust, this translation says, distrust not the fear of Yahuah. I read in another translation where it says, distrust not the work of Yahuah when you are poor. Distrust not the doing of Yahuah when you're poor. When you're poor and when you're oppressed and Yahuah does things, a lot of times because of your condition and your state, you might have a difficult time fearing Yahuah. You might have a difficult time trusting Yahuah. You might have a difficult time believing Yahuah. After all, if he is just, if he is real, if he is who he says he is, how can he allow me to continue to go through the things that I go through? How can he allow me to continue to suffer the way that I suffer? If he is who he says he is, and if he can do the things that he says he can do and does. Distrust not Yahuah when you're poor, and come not unto him with a double heart. You cannot come to Yahuah double-minded. You either come to him believing that he is who he says he is, and that he's able to do what he says he will do, and that he will do what he says he will do, or you do not come to him. You can't come to him with a double heart. You see. Yes, indeed. Sometimes, Akukela says, sometimes it's a heart motive when we are lacking. We can't come to him with a double heart. Be not an hypocrite in the sight of men. No, going to the fear of Yahuah. Be not an hypocrite in the sight of men, and take good heed what you speak. Do not be a hypocrite in the sight of men, and take good heed to what you speak. In other words, you cannot say one thing, you can't tell people one thing, but do something else. If you do, it means that you have not the fear of Yahuah. You do not fear Yahuah. Do not be a hypocrite in the sight of men. You can't be laying burdens on the people in one breath and then doing something else in the next. Be not an hypocrite in the sight of men, and take good heed to what you speak. Exalt not yourself lest you fall. Do not praise yourself, lest you fall and bring dishonor upon your soul. And so Elohim discover your secrets and cast you down into the midst of the congregation, because you came not in truth to the fear of Yahuah, but your heart is full of deceit. So what Yahuah is saying is, for the one who speak his word, do not speak it in hypocrisy. Do not proclaim what you do not do, because I will expose you in the midst of the assembly. Because your heart is full of deceit. Because everything done in secret will be rewarded openly, he says. He says, I will expose you in the midst of the assembly. Okay? Now, we're going to come back to Sirach, but we're going to jump over here, family, and we're going to go to the book of Mashaly. Okay? Sirach, or Sayara, chapter 1, focuses on the fear of Yahuah and its role in wisdom. We cannot say we have wisdom, and we cannot gain wisdom without the fear of Yahuah. And the fear of Yahuah begins with a seeking out and a knowing of his dabar, a knowing of his word, and living his word, applying his word. Not simply speaking it, but living by what we profess and what we proclaim. I'm going to go to Mashaly, Proverbs, beginning in chapter 1. And as we continue in this, family, we'll look at wisdom. Wisdom is referred to as her. Is wisdom the queen of heaven? We'll look at that as we continue in our study of wisdom. The Proverbs of Shalomah, son of Dahoud, king of Yasharal. For knowing wisdom and discipline, for understanding the words of understanding, for receiving the discipline of wisdom, set apartness, right ruling, and straightness, for giving insight to the simple, knowledge and discretion to the young. The wise one hears and increases learning. The wise one hears, here we go again. The one that is wise listens and increases learning. And the understanding of one gets wise counsel. And the understanding one gets wise counsel. For understanding a proverb and a figure, the words of the wise and their riddles. The fear of Yahuah is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and discipline. So the fear of Yahuah is the beginning of knowledge. But fools despise wisdom and discipline. My son, heed the discipline of your father, and do not forsake the Torah of your mother. My son, heed the discipline of your father. Pay attention to the discipline of your father. See the value in the discipline of your father, and do not forsake the instructions of your mother. For they are a fair wreath on your head and chains around your neck. My son, if sinners, if transgressors entice you, do not give in. If they say, come with us, let us lie in wait for blood, let us ambush the innocent without cause. Let us swallow them alive like the grave, and entirely like those going down to the pit. Let us find all precious goods, let us fill our houses with spoil. Cast in your lot among us, let us all have one purse. My son, do not walk in the way with them. Keep your foot from their path. And the fact of the matter is, there are people out there who plot on other people just like this. This is not just a figure of speech. This is not just something to say, but it is a fact that there are people who delight themselves in doing evil and wickedness to others. who plot on the destruction of others. Whether it be individually or systematically, they do it. They do it. And they are alive and real. But this is what will happen to the one who plots on the destruction of others, who plots on the demise of the innocent, who plots on the one that have done nothing to deserve their evil reaction or action. Not reaction, but action. Yahuah says, for their feet runs to evil, and they hurry to shed blood. For in vain the net is spread in the sight of any bird. For in vain the net is spread in the sight of any bird. If you want to catch a bird, or if you want to catch anything, you do not spread the net openly in their face where they see you spreading the net. Then you're spreading it in vain. When they do what they do, even though it might be perceived by many of us, we have to understand that even though you might see it, because Yahuah has allowed you to see it, it does not mean that everybody else is seeing it. The fact that you see what they do means that Yahuah has shown favor to you. He has opened your eyes and has allowed you to see their workings, but not everyone can see it. Because what might seem open to you and in your face, it's not so obvious to others. It's only nobody in spreading a net, in laying a trap, would go and lay the trap in your face where they know that you're going to perceive what they're doing. And so it is only Yahuah that causes us to understand and to see the wickedness of the wicked. And so even when it comes to our people, and when we try to communicate to them that you have a system, you have a people who are totally against you, they can't perceive it. They don't see it. And it's not until Yahuah opened the eyes of his people that they begin to see it, right? He says, for their feet run to evil, and they hurry to shed blood. For in vain the net is spread in the sight of any bird. But they lie in wait for their own blood. They ambush their own lives. When you lay a trap, you're actually laying a trap for yourself. When the wicked lays his trap, he is laying the trap for himself. Ecclesiastes chapter 10, and I believe verse 12, or chapter 12 and verse 10, it says, he who breaks an edge, the serpent will bite him, and he who digs a pit will fall in it. But they lie in wait for their own blood, they ambush their own lives. Such are the ways of everyone greedy for gain. It takes away the life of its owner. The one greedy for gain, that greed takes away its life, his life. Such are the ways of everyone greedy for gain. Wisdom calls aloud outside. She raises her voice in the broad places. At the head of the noisy streets, she cries out. At the openings of the gates in the city, she speaks her words. How long, you simple ones, would you love simplicity? And shall scoffers delight in their scoffing, and fools hate knowledge? How long? Turn at my reproof. See, I pour out my spirit on you. I make my words known to you, because I called and you refused. I have stretched out my hand and no one inclined, and you spurned all my counsel and would not yield to my reproof. Let me also laugh at your calamity, mock when your dread comes. When your dread comes like a storm and your calamity comes like a whirlwind, when distress and anguish come upon you, let them then call on me, but I answer not. Let them seek me, but not find me, because they hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of Yahuah. Because they hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of Yahuah. When calamity comes, Yahuah will turn a blind eye and a deaf ear to their cry. And that's what has happened to Yasharal. because we hated knowledge and turned away from the wisdom of Yahuah and the fear of Yahuah. When calamity came, Yahuah turned the blind eye and the deaf ear. But we read in the book of Yeshayahu chapter 56 where Yahuah says that he will once again turn his face back to his people and turn his ear to their cry. Therefore, let them eat the fruit of their own way and be filled with their own counsels. That's what happens to the wicked. When the wicked inherit wickedness, what's all that's happening is that they are reaping their own fruits. They're reaping their own desires. When wickedness come up on the wicked, all that they're receiving is what has been in their hearts this entire time. Because they hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of Yahuah, they did not accept my counsel. They despised all my reproof. Verse 31, therefore let them eat the fruit of their own way and be filled with their own counsels. For the turning away of the simple slays them, and the complacency of fools destroy them. The fool is complacent. We cannot be complacent, family. What does it mean to be complacent? Forgetting where you are. Forgetting where you're standing, forgetting who you're dealing with. The complacency of fools destroy them. When you forget where you are, when you forget who you're dealing with, your complacency will be your destruction. And the turning away from the instructions of Yahuah and from the fear of Yahuah will slay you. But whoever listens to me dwells safely and is at ease from the dread of evil. You see, that's comforting for us, Yasharal, when we turn to Yahuah, when Yahuah has drawn us back to him. You know, today you have a lot of people talking about martial law and this law and that law. Do I fear martial law? No. Do I fear what evil will do? No. Because Yahuah is my rock and my salvation. Yahuah is my shelter. Whom shall I fear? When the wicked come upon me to eat up my flesh, they stumble and they fall. So who will suffer in the day of great adversity? Who will be trampled in the day of great adversity? The wicked. The wicked, whether it be the wicked of Yasharal or the wicked of any nation. In the day of great evil, the wicked will suffer. Those who seek Yahuah, those who fear Yahuah, those who seek to walk according to his Dabar will be sheltered by Yahuah. Going back to Matzrayim in the day of great evil, who suffered? While the plague of Yahuah is being poured out, who suffered and who was sheltered? Yahuah will shelter his people. You see, we have a responsibility to cry out against the evil, the wickedness of the wicked. But many of our people will not cry out because they have the wrong fear. They don't fear Yahuah, they fear the wicked. And as a result of fearing the wicked, they do not cry out. But I fear Yahuah, not the wicked. Yahuah is my rock. He is my salvation. He is my shelter. And what Yahuah says is that those who seek him and those who fear him, they will dwell safely. Just as they dwelt safely in the midst of the turmoil in Matzrayim. Yahuah shelters his people. Mashaly chapter 2, my son, if you accept my words and treasure up my commands with you, so that you make your ear attend to wisdom, my son, if you accept my words. So we have a responsibility. We have a choice. We have a choice. we have a decision to make, and that is whether or not we're going to accept the word of Yahuah or we're going to reject it. My son, if you accept my words and treasure up my commands with you, so that you make your ear attend to wisdom, so that you make your ear attend to wisdom. Your ear is not going to automatically attend to wisdom. You got to make it. Because the flesh does not desire wisdom. The flesh desires folly. So that you make your ear attend to wisdom, incline your heart to understanding. Or if you cry for discernment, lift up your voice for understanding. If you cry for discernment, lift up your voice for understanding. Yahuah, I want to understand the times. I want to understand your working in this time. I cry for discernment, but I must lift up my voice for understanding. Yahuah, give me understanding. If you seek her as silver, understanding and discernment, and search for her as hidden treasures, notice that it's not just wisdom that is referred to as her, but understanding is also referred to as her. Discernment or understanding is also referred to as her. So how many queens of heaven do we have? Now we're into 2 queens of heaven if we go by that doctrine. If you seek her as silver and search for her as hidden treasures, then you would understand the fear of Yahuah. So with understanding and for understanding, we must search for her. Search for understanding. Search for discernment as silver. And search for her as hidden treasure. Meaning that you do not leave a stone unturned in your search. Then you would understand the fear of Yahuah and find the knowledge of Alakim. For Yahuah gives wisdom, out of his mouth comes knowledge and understanding. And he treasures up stability for the straight, a shield to those walking blamelessly. He is a shield to those walking blamelessly. Then you would understand set apartness and right ruling and straightness, every good path. For wisdom would enter your heart, and knowledge be pleasant to your being. Discretion would guard you. So when you gain wisdom and understanding, you gain discretion. When you gain wisdom and understanding, you gain discretion. And we need discretion in all things. We need discretion in all things. If you lack discretion, then you lack the ability to judge wisely. We need discretion. To make right judgment, we've got to have the ability to apply discretion. You see. Because the fact of the matter is, things are not always just black and white, cut and dry. You need discretion. Wisdom and understanding gives you discretion. It causes you to know how to act. You see. For wisdom would enter your heart, and knowledge would be pleasant to your being. Discretion would guard you. Understanding would watch over you to deliver you from the evil way, from the man who speaks perversities. Those who leave the paths of straightness to walk in the ways of darkness, who rejoice to do evil, they delight in the perversities of evil. Those who leave the path of straightness to walk in the ways of darkness, who rejoice to do evil, they delight in the perversities of evil, whose paths are crooked and they are perverted in their ways, to deliver you from the strange woman, from the foreigner who flatters with her words, who forsakes the companion of her youth. This is what wisdom, understanding, and discretion will do. Wisdom, understanding, and discretion will deliver you from the strange woman, from the foreigner who flatters with her words. Family, the strange woman, she can be literal or she can be metaphorical. The strange woman. The strange woman can be the system. The strange woman can be a woman. Men, the strange woman can be a literal woman. The strange woman. A woman not of Yahuah, a woman not of Yasharal, a woman not your wife. The system. A woman not the assembly. The church. You see, to deliver you from the strange woman, that's what wisdom, understanding, knowledge, and discretion will do. It will deliver you from the strange woman, from the foreigner who flatters with her words, who forsakes the companion of her youth and has forgotten the contract of her Alakim. For her house has sunk down to death, and her paths to the dead. None going into her does return, nor do they reach the paths of life. So walk in the way of goodness and guard the paths of righteousness, for the straight shall dwell in the earth. The straight, the upright, the set apart shall dwell in the earth. You're not going to spend eternity in heaven anywhere. The set apart shall dwell in the earth, and the perfect be left in it. But the wrong shall be cut off from the earth, and the treacherous ones plucked out of it. We are told that the right ones will be plucked out of the earth, that the right ones will dwell in Shamayim. Not so, according to the scriptures. The upright, the set apart ones will dwell in the earth. The wicked will be plucked out of the earth. Chapter 3. My son, do not forget my Torah, and let your heart watch over my commands. My son, do not forget my Torah, and let your heart watch over my commands. Let's talk about that one for a little bit. Yahuah in his instruction says that we are to write the Torah up on our foreheads. And Jewish custom present this tradition of this cube, a representation of idolatry. This cube that they would tie to their foreheads. And in this cube is supposed to be, and of course they do not esteem Yahuah, but in this cube is supposed to be the bar, the word of our Creator. So they tied to their foreheads, because Yahuah said to write them between your eyes, to hang them between your eyes. But what is Yahuah really saying when he tells us to hang his word between our eyes? Write them between our eyes. What is he really saying? Is he telling us to take the scroll and hang it between our eyes, to hang it from our foreheads? Is that what he is saying? No, that's not what he is saying. Keep it in our minds. That's what he is saying. Religion have people doing all kinds of stuff that means nothing. It puts on a good show, but ultimately it is vain and it is empty. What he is saying is, my son, do not forget my Torah, and let your heart watch over my commands. Okay, now let's look at again Yahusha, what they call Joshua, Yahusha chapter 1 and verse 8. Same thing Yahuah is saying when he said to Yahusha, He is repeating his command. Write them between your eyes. Write them upon your front lobes. Do not forget them. That's your place. Do not forget them. Let them be present in your mind. Do not let this book of Torah depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate on it day and night, so that you guard to do according to all that is written in it. Do not let this book of Torah depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate on it day and night, so that you guard to do according to all that is written in it. For then you shall make your way prosperous and act wisely. For then you shall make your way prosperous and act wisely. If you hang them, write them upon your mind. If you do not let them depart from your mouth, and you meditate on them day and night, if you ponder them, if you study them, reflect on them, think on them, they will cause you to act wisely, and they will make your way prosperous, safe. So going back to Mashaly chapter 3, Yahuah says, my son, do not forget my Torah, and let your heart watch over my commands for length of days. So when you do not forget his Torah, and when you let your heart watch over his commands, your days will be lengthened because of your obedience to his word. Because his word gives wisdom, understanding, and good judgment. For length of days and long life and shalom they add to you. Let not kindness and truth forsake you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablet of your heart. Thus finding favor and good insight in the eyes of Elohim and man. Thus finding favor and good insight. This is what you do. When you seek to live by the word of Yahuah, when you live in the fear of Yahuah, even though men hate you, they will be forced to respect you. They hate you, but yet they're forced to respect you. They hate you, but yet they're forced to do good to you, even though they want to do evil. When you live in the fear of Yahuah, when you live in the wisdom of Yahuah, when you live in the word of Yahuah, let not kindness and truth forsake you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablet of your heart, thus finding favor and good insight in the eyes of Elohim and man. Trust in Yahuah with all your heart. Trust in Yahuah with all your heart. Believe in Yahuah with all your heart. Now, to trust in Yahuah with all your heart and to believe in Yahuah with all your heart is to be willing to accept whatever the workings of Yahuah is in that moment, in that time. Whatever Yahuah determines, then so let it be. Trust in Yahuah with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Lean not on your own understanding. Know him in all your ways, and he makes all your paths straight. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear Yahuah and turn away from evil. Fear Yahuah and turn away from evil. It is healing to your navel and moisturing to your bones. Esteem Yahuah with your goods and with the first fruits of all your increase. Esteem him with all that we have, and with the first fruit of all your increase. Then your storehouses shall be filled with plenty, and your vats overflow with new wine. When we esteem him with all we have, and with the first fruit of our increase, then your storehouse shall be filled with plenty, and your vats overflow with new wine. My son, do not despise the discipline of Yahuah, and do not loathe his reproof. For whom Yahuah loves, he reproves, as a father the son whom he delights in. If the father does not chastise the son, then the father has no love for the son. He actually hates his son. And so we should be thankful for the reproval of Yahuah. Baruch is the man who has found wisdom and the man who gets understanding. Baruch is the man who has found wisdom and the man who gets understanding. Or perhaps the word here might be happy. Happy is the man who has found wisdom and the man who gets understanding. For the gain from it is better than gain from silver, and its increase than fine gold. She is more precious than rubies, wisdom, and all your delights are not comparable to her. Length of days is in her right hand, riches and esteem is in her left hand. Her ways are pleasant ways, and all her paths are shalom, peace. She is a tree of life to those taking hold of her, and favored are all who retain her. Yahuah found the earth by wisdom. He established Shamayim by understanding. By his knowledge the depths were broken up, and clouds dropped down dew. My son, let them not depart from your eyes. Watch over sound wisdom and discretion. Then they become life to your being and an adorning to your neck. Then you would walk safely in your way, and your foot would not stumble. When you lie down, you need not be afraid. And you shall lie down, and your sleep shall be sweet when you walk in wisdom. Do not be afraid of sudden dread. Do not be afraid of sudden dread. Do not be afraid of chaos. Do not be afraid of the uprising of the wicked. Do not be afraid of sudden dread, nor of the ruin of the wrong when it comes. Also, do not concern yourself with the destruction of the wrong when it comes. For Yahuah is at your side. Yeah. When the uproar comes, Yahuah is at your side. When martial law comes, Yahuah is at your side. When the wicked comes, Yahuah is at your side, and he shall guard your foot from being caught. Do not withhold good from those who deserve it, when it is in the power of your hand to do so. Do not say to your neighbor, go and come back tomorrow, I give it, when you have it with you. You know, some people are like that. Somebody might be in need and they have it to give, but they just can't. It's hard for them to let go. They got to bring themselves to doing so. And so even though they have it to give, they say, come back tomorrow, I'll give it to you then. But you have it today. Why put that one through unnecessary suffering? Do not plan evil against your neighbor, seeing he dwells safely beside you. Do not strive with a man without cause, if he has done you no evil. Now, this is a big one, because Christianity has taught us that you should never strive with anyone. But what you should always do is always turn the other cheek. Turn the other cheek. Turn the other cheek. What happens when you have no more cheeks to turn? Then what do you turn next? There is a time for everything under the sun, according to the word of Yahuah, according to Yahuah. So Yahuah says, do not strive with a man without cause. What we are not to do is strive with a man without cause. What we are not to do is strive with a system without cause. But if there is cause, then there is cause to strive. Do not strive with a man without cause. If he has done nothing to you, you have no reason to strive. But if he has, you have a reason. Do not strive with a man without cause, if he has done no evil. If he has done no evil. If he has done evil, you have a reason to strive. Do not envy a cruel man, and choose none of his ways. For the perverse one is an abomination to Yahuah, and his secret counsel is with the straight. The curse of Yahuah is on the house of the wrong, but he Baruch the home of the set apart. He certainly scoffs the scoffers, but gives favor to the humble. He scoffs at the prideful, the puffed up, the self-righteous, but gives favor to the humble. The wise do inherit esteem, but fools are bearing away shame. The wise inherits esteem, but fools bear away shame. I believe that the words written here are quite straightforward. And as we go on in our reading through the book of Mashaly, there are times when we'll comment more on different things, but for the most part, I believe Yahuwah's word concerning wise action, wise living, understanding living, and understanding action is straightforward, right? Children, listen to the discipline of a father and give attention to know understanding. So we listen to the discipline of a father. We have a responsibility to give attention to knowing understanding. We must seek to understand. We must seek to understand. You know, a lot of times we might tell our children something and they ask why. And automatically we say, because I say so. That's not good enough. We have to break ourselves out of that. The reason why we are as dumbed down as we are as a people is because when the massa strike us and do things to us and we ask why, he tell us, because I say so. And so we have grown accustomed to that, and now we're passing it on to our kids. And we're conditioning them not to ask why. But it is important for them to know that it's okay to ask why. Because in asking why, that is where we gain understanding. If we understood, then we would not be asking why. No, you can't go. Why? Obviously, they don't know why, and we have to be patient enough to tell them why. You see. But we, in our pridefulness, when asked why, we respond with aggression because pride is there, and pride says, don't ask me why, just do as I say. That's pride speaking. But whether we're dealing with parents or we're dealing with brothers and sisters in Yahuah, when somebody asks why, we are to be ready to give an answer to every man that asks why. I don't call on Jesus. Why? You shouldn't call on Jesus. And they say, why? Well, we say, because I say so. No, you got to be ready to give them a reason why. You got to be ready to give them an answer as to why. Don't be offended. Don't get offended, but be ready to give an answer. Because why is asked? Because there's a lack of understanding. Children, listen to the discipline of a father and give attention to know understanding. So we got to be willing to ask why. We've got to be willing to find out the whys. And if we are the ones being asked why, we've got to be willing and ready to give an answer. Not to be offensive, but to give a genuine answer. An answer that will help the one that you're trying to help. We got to be ready to give an answer, and we also got to be willing to ask why. We don't just take stuff because somebody say it. That's what got us in trouble. We need to get ourselves in a place of asking why, because we've been discouraged from asking why, and so many people no longer ask why. Somebody say it, they just jump on the bandwagon, and that too is dangerous. So we got to be willing and ready to ask why, and we have also got to be ready to be, for when we're asked why, to give an answer. Right? I gave you good instruction. Do not forsake my Torah. I was my father's son, tender, and the only one in the eyes of my mother. Then he taught me and said to me, let your heart hold fast to my words, guard my commands and live. Guard my commands and live. Get wisdom, get understanding. Do not forget. So how do you get understanding? How do you get wisdom? By seeking out the bar of Yahuah, meditating on it day and night. That's how you get wisdom. In the word of Yahuah is wisdom. That's where wisdom lies. Wisdom is in the word of Yahuah, because wisdom comes from Yahuah. So how do we get wisdom? We seek it out in his word. How do we get understanding? We ask why. We ask questions. That's how we get understanding. We cry out and ask Yahuah, help me to understand. Give me understanding. Do not forget and do not turn away from the words of my mouth. Do not leave her, wisdom, and let her guard you. Love her. Let her watch over you. The beginning of wisdom is get wisdom, and with all you're getting, get understanding. Exalt her and let her lift you up. She brings you esteem when you embrace her. She gives your head a fair wreath. She shields you with an adorning crown. Hear, my son, and accept my words, and let the years of your life be many. I have taught you in the way of wisdom. I have led you in straight paths. When you walk, your steps shall not be hindered. When you're walking in wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, your steps shall not be hindered. You see? Yes, indeed. That's right, Akut. That is what's wrong with preaching in Christianity, because preaching does not allow feedback, does not allow questioning. That's right. But it can't allow, when it's not the truth, questioning cannot be allowed, because when you question the truth falls apart. And so that is why no questioning is allowed. But truth, wisdom does not fear questioning. Truth does not fear speculation. It welcomes speculation. It welcomes questioning. So if what we're giving is the truth, and if what we're telling our children is the truth, then we won't use don't ask me anything as a wall to hide behind. You see, when you walk, your steps shall not be hindered. This is when you're walking in wisdom. Your steps shall not be hindered. I have led you in straight paths. When you walk, your steps shall not be hindered. And if you run, you shall not stumble. You see, when you have wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, you can run without stumbling. Hold fast to discipline. If you are wise, you will hold fast to discipline. Do not let go. Do not let go of discipline. Do not let go of discipline. You see, discipline, when we say discipline, sometimes we might be tempted to think of only the rod. But discipline is not limited to the rod. Discipline is the ability to keep yourself in a straight way, to walk uprightly. You are disciplined in your actions, disciplined in your walk. Sometimes it takes the rod to get you to that place of straightness, but discipline continues after the rod. The rod might be needed to get you in line, but unless you go out of line, the rod is no longer needed. The rod is used to get you in line. Now you must be disciplined in order to stay in line. And that comes from employing wisdom. When we walk in wisdom, we'll stay in line. In other words, when we walk in his word, we stay in line. Do not enter the path of the wrong, and do not walk in the way of evildoers. Do not enter the path of the wrong. Don't even go in there, and do not walk in the way of evildoers. Avoid it. Do not pass by it. You will be enticed if you do. If you know that that area is where the wrong hang out, don't even go there. You see? If that's their hangout for doing evil, don't even go there. Now, this is not saying that you cannot associate with people who aren't there. You see, that you can't talk to people who aren't living right. How can they hear without a preacher? Right? How can they preach if they are not sent? So we also have a responsibility not to go where we're not sent. Right? Do not enter the path of the wrong, and do not walk in the way of evildoers. Avoid it. Do not pass by it. Turn away from it and pass on. For they do not sleep unless they have done evil, and their sleep is taken away unless they make someone fall. That's the wicked. For they have eaten the bread of wrongdoing. You know, I work with a guy who boasts about being wicked. Boast about doing evil. Not to the extent of boasting about killing somebody, but you might as well. Boast about doing stuff to get on people's nerve. That's a fool, and that's a wicked person. They live for that. But the path of the set apart, so it says, for they do not sleep unless they have done evil, and their sleep is taken away unless they make someone fall. For they have eaten the bread of wrongdoing, and they drink the wine of violence. They drink the wine of violence. They eat the bread of wrongdoing. But the path of the righteous is like the light of dawn that shines ever brighter unto the perfect day. The way of the wrong is like darkness. They do not know at what they stumble. The way of the wrong is like darkness. They do not know at what they stumble. When their fall comes, they won't even know it until they're down. My son, listen to my words. Incline your ear to my sayings. Let them not depart from your eyes. Guard them in the midst of your heart, for they are life to those who find them and healing to all their flesh. Watch over your heart with all diligence. Watch over your heart with all diligence, for out of it are the sources of life. We have to guard our hearts, because out of it comes the issues of life. If we don't guard our hearts, if we allow folly to build up in our hearts, foolishness to build up in our hearts, then guess what? That's what we're going to live. We're going to live the folly that's in our hearts. Whatever we allow to possess our hearts is what we're going to live. It's what we're going to experience. You see. So we are to guard our hearts. Turn away from you a crooked mouth, a corrupt mouth, a crooked mouth, whether it be cursing, whether it be gossiping, whether it be lying, whatever it be. Turn away from you a crooked mouth, and put perverse lips far from you. Consider the path of your feet. Let your eyes look forward, and your eyelids look straight before you. Let your eyes look forward, and your eyelids look straight before you. Can't spend all your days looking backwards. Consider the path of your feet, and all your ways are established. Do not turn to the right or to the left. Turn your foot away from evil. Turn your foot away from evil. Well, I'm going to stop here at chapter 4 for right now, and then we're going to getting ready to go into chapter 5 through chapter 7, which are some really good chapters dealing with purity, sexual purity in particular. And we're going to be looking at that, but not just sexual purity, but spiritual purity, you see. So we're going to be looking at that. And but we're going to prepare to take a break. Is there anything, family, before we go to break, that perhaps I've read that you would like for me to emphasize on more, or any comments or questions before we go to break from what we have read so far? Does Yahuwah send warnings to the wicked before his destruction, or only to the set apart? Well, Yahuwah sends warnings, but the wicked don't see him. Just like we read there just now, how destruction comes up on the wicked suddenly. It's not that there haven't been warnings of pending destruction, but they're blind to it because of their wickedness. And so there are always warnings, even to the wicked. There are always warnings, but they don't see it. And in many cases, Yahuwah hardens their hearts and blind them. It comes a point where they're blinded to it, but it's there, you see. They had an opportunity, you see. But yes, so Yahuwah does send warnings, but it comes a point in the process where they become so hardened and so blind to it that they just fall over into their destruction. Just like with Pharaoh, Yahuwah warned him, right? Yahuwah warned him, but then Yahuwah hardened his heart also, you know, and so destruction came upon him. It wasn't sudden, but it seemed to him as if it was suddenly, you know, because he was so busy pursuing and tasting victory, and then all of a sudden he run into a brick wall, and that's what happens to the wicked. Praise Father Aku. Praise Yahuwah. All right. Well, what we're going to do then, family, is we're going to take a break here, and then we'll come back in about a half an hour or so. We'll come back around 4:30. It's 3:52 Eastern time. We'll come back at 4:30, and then we're going to pick up going into Proverbs chapter chapter 5. Okay, so I'll see you after the break. I'm going to have to stop the live stream on YouTube, but we'll come back after the break. Okay, and I'll create a new live stream, and I'll send out the invite again for the YouTube live stream, but I'll see you after the break, family. I'm going to leave Fuse will be open, remain open, and I think I'll play some music during the break. Let some music play during the break. Matter of fact, might play some videos, some past videos and some music during the break. Okay, so that's what we'll do. We'll put some videos on and some music during the break. All right, so I'll see you after the break. I'm about to stop. I'm about to stop the excuse me. I'm about to stop YouTube. You know, I just saw Akud Kaya's question on YouTube, and she had asked, what would you say to someone who claims to be set apart, yet cussing people out? You know, just cussing people out. Well, that's not being set apart at all, you see? And Yahuwah cautions us about that time and time again. There's nothing set apart about that, you know, where you are abusive and divisive and even being profane. You see, there's nothing set apart. You can't be profane and set apart at the same time, you see, and so that's hypocrisy. And we're going to read a lot about that when we go to the book of Sirach. We're going to read a lot about that, about your language, about using profanity. We're going to read a lot about that when we go to the book of with the book of Sirach. So it's going to talk about that as we continue our study in wisdom. But we are warned about hypocrisy. In the book of Sirach, chapter 1, Yahuah talks about the man who proclaim one thing, but then go and do something else because he's a hypocrite, and how Yahuah will expose him to the assembly. And so we read that in chapter 1. And so there's nothing set apart about that. And that's why Yahuah talk about not praising yourself, but let another man praise you, you see. Because a lot of people are good at praising themselves, esteeming themselves, naming themselves, calling themselves something that they're not, you see. When, you know, they're praising themselves about being set apart when in fact they're corrupt. Scriptures call them hypocrites or even whitewashed sepulchres, you know, whitewashed tombs. And so certainly hypocrisy acute. Well, we're going to take a break, and I'll see you on the other side of the break, family. Praise Yahuah. Praise Father. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop the YouTube broadcast, and again, I'll send out a new invite for the new live feed once we do. In the meantime, I'm going to put some music on, and fuse will remain open.